Welcome to Frontlines. We'll be taking a few seconds here at the beginning to allow people to share and cross-post. Welcome to Frontlines. We'd like to welcome our guests from across the United States and Canada, throughout Europe, Australia as well, and of course, Armenia and Artsakh as well. As the election nears and the issues of the post-war situation loom, we are joined today by a guest who's going to delve into these issues with us and discuss what the opportunities and the challenges are that face Armenian society today, and of course, our compatriots in Artsakh and the Artsakh Republic as well. And with that, I'd like to ask Garo to introduce our guest for today.
Thank you, Karnig. Good morning, everyone in Artsakh and Armenia. Good day everywhere else. And Tevan Poghosyan. Our guest today is Tevan Poghosyan. Tevan Poghosyan was born in Yerevan, and he graduated from the Faculty of Computer Technologies at the Armenian State Engineering University and holds a Master of Engineering degree. He also has a Master of Arts from the Faculty of Political Science and International Relations of the American University of Armenia. His accomplishments and professional engagements are as follows. 1996-1997, expert at Central Bank Department of the Republic of Armenia. 97, head of the Division of Balance Analysis and Methodology of the Central Bank of the Republic of Armenia. 1997-1999, Artsakh Nagorno-Karabakh Republic, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Director of the Office of Public Affairs in the United States in Washington, D.C. 1999-2000, head of the Division of Marketing and Trade of Hovnanian International. From 2000 to 2012, Executive Director of the International Center for Human Development. 2001 to 2012, Executive Director for the Armenian Atlantic Association. A lecturer at the Russian Armenian Slavonic University. We should note that in 2012, Tevan Poghosyan was elected Deputy of the National Assembly, at that time by the proportional electoral system from the Heritage Party. Also in 2012, Tevan was awarded the Jubilee Medal of the Armed Forces of the Republic of Armenia. Tevan is an author of a number of scientific articles. And as of last May 2020, the President of Armenia, Armen Sarkissian, signed a decree appointing Tevan Poghosyan as an ad hoc advisor to the President. Tevan Poghosyan is married and he is the father of 5 children, and he is my friend, and he is welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Karnig?
Thank you, Tevan, for joining us today. And I wanted to start off our discussions with respect to a particular project that you've undertaken for a number of years at the International Center for Human Development. And that it deals with the various policy papers that your organization has issued based on off-the-record discussions with a number of policymakers and people of influence within Armenian government and society. And I want to take you back, if I can, to an article, a policy paper, which was issued back in February 2019. And I'm going to read it because it has really powerful relevance today. And you wrote, perhaps for every country, security is the number one issue. The primary security issue for Armenia is the Artsakh conflict. The 4-day war proved that the ceasefire agreement and the efforts of the co-chairs of the OSCE Minsk group cannot fully serve as guarantees against resuming military actions. This means that continuous improvement of the defense system is an urgent imperative. Therefore, to ensure security, we need to use the time available to us as intensively and effectively as possible, rather than let it dwindle. I have to say, Tevan, that that statement back from February 2019 was very clairvoyant. And the reason I want to start with that is given how those policy papers are generated, your off-the-record discussions, is it fair to say that there were significant people within the Armenian, let's say, power establishment, whether it's in civil society or in government, that had recognized the value of continuous efforts to improve our security situation in Armenia after the Artsakh war, after the 2016 four-day war?
First of all, the logic of having or using this instrument as off-the-record discussions has been really the touch over which working 2 years in Washington, D.C. as Karabakh representative, mainly being a representative of unrecognized entity, I have only opportunities to really directly daily work with think tank community or with the Congress, thanks to the diaspora links of to lobbyist institutions as Armenian Assembly and ANC. And really the quality or cuisine, or I don't know how, the culture of think tank communities of Washington was one of the ideas when we established back in 2000 International Center for Human Development. We established a real think tank that could help to develop alternative policies, who could start to work on the policy development issues regarding that, helping government and helping civil society and helping kind of a develop pragmatic approach, because as a heritage from Soviet Union, we have many times think tanks that has been mainly on academic level, not on the practical level of policy. And we developed this instrument, and in 2019, if honestly saying, I wouldn't be very glad to name who has been sitting in that room. Even I remember that meeting as like happened yesterday. But believe me, at least let me mention, there have been 2 ministers, there have been 3 deputy ministers, there have been from the government, as you know, already in 2019, government have totally different administrative projects. There have been an expert community on security issues, specifically very well known the region, like from very good experts on Turkey, on Azerbaijan, on regional issues. We have the logic of like the science expert and real practical decision makers in that room. And based on our discussions, that policy developed as a call for everyone to understand that we need to really target. Seems like on the discussion level, decision makers permanently knows that it has been very important issue. Everyone has been saying security number one. Security number one. We need to keep up our security. But when it's coming to the real practical step, it's coming to the issues how you're providing that security. So like even if we were following that point, there have been logic of, okay, we're understanding that there would be really problems to having danger or challenge from air. And if you following the process of decision making, there have been some attempts to stop or to find solution for how to eliminate challenge from the air. What Armenia done, they gone and purchased some aircraft. Doesn't mean what kind of an aircraft of the state of parts of that aircraft. But what the practical life shows, that during a 44 days, none of these aircraft has ever been utilized, never been really taking its point of defense to use. This is where I think many times we have really not learned our lessons. Now, if I'm going back in the next, I understand security, I understand challenges. We really openly and honestly recognizing this. But what kind of a step we take? And this is the real problem of the time. and I consider time is one of the relevant notions in the world. Time is work for one who is using that time in a proper way. So like yesterday, there been one of the information that there was an interview that one of the so-called very responsible person for security systems in Armenia or security structure, saying that we already in June knows about Azerbaijani political decision to start the war, June 2020. One would say that, okay, if you know why you didn't done it. I am having a bit different thinking on the point. Okay, let me remember, review what started to happen after June in Armenia, and I will do the critical thinking. Guys, if you have the information in June, what we have in July, what we have in August, what we have in September. And based on this, I would say that instead of really starting to preparing to military action or initiation, over which we done nothing. In July, we have like 4 or 5 days kind of a war, small things. We make that military small action on the in Tevan border as like an, I don't know, victorious war even, which is much bigger than the 1994 ceasefire agreement. In August, no one is even remembering what kind of a political situation we have or something like this. It has been vacation time or some way on that logic. And in September, if you're taking, it has been one of the, let's say, beginning of clashes of internal political structure. Finally, we have a 1 week before arrest of second political fraction leader in the parliament. Yes, when you know that the war can start every day, are you dealing with the internal political system on dividing, or you're trying to find out the ways how to unify? Specifically, if September, if you look, in September months for us are having 2 very important days. One is September 2nd, as Independence Day of Artsakh Republic, and another was September 21 as Independence Day of Armenia, which should be served as 2 days of marking events on unification of Armenian nations, of unification or correcting of our Armenian dreams, of our Armenian vision, how we Armenians living in Artsakh, in Republic of Armenia, on the territory of Hayastan, let's say, or the Armenian Hike territory, which has been under our control, and the unification with the diaspora Armenians. We have in any way the point that sometimes we saying that there are about 10 million Armenians in the world. Some calculations saying 12 million. Okay, I'm very glad to have 2 million more. But out of these 10 or 12 million, how many of us are really political nation, on who is devoted to Armenian cases, who consider Armenian and Artsakh as a homeland part, who consider that he needs to always have part not only in heart, but also in mind and in all its deeds as like Armenians, the same way as like a resident of any country would feel some part of its country. We are the kind of a network nation, but with these network nations, we many times haven't been honest in our discussion. Now, I'm coming to another point. Guys, if the government saying that I'm democratic, we need to have a democratic development, and this is no, the word democracy doesn't mean simply just let's have elections. Democracy is a system of values over which we need to live. And the point of these values are living in the way that I'll be attentive to the people what they say. I will be trying to make my policy based on the honest dialogue and discussion with the people. And if I'm mistaken, I will care political responsibility for my wrong decisions. Presumption of innocence is the value. Freedom of speech is the value. open and libertarian human rights is the value of this system. Democracy is a system. It's not just only one election. Now, I'm trying to remember, okay, how this government formed. December 2018 election. At the pre-election times, so many promises that any issues which would be very important for our security, we would come and openly discuss with public. We would come and try to make the joint and unified decisions and so on. And if you're looking forward, then 2019 February of the record discussion of that day was already part of that. We as a think tank consider that we need to gather all these people using our links with the government decision makers, people from the parliament, people from the expert community, and have an open discussion. Because in that room, we have people from the whole political spectrum who are many times has been publicly, I would say, the antagonistic, not enemy way, but definitely they've been on the political mind, competitive sides from oppositions. And they've been able to jointly discuss and come to this. But none of these value points over democracy has been implemented. And finally, what we get as a divided nation, we much more start to saying with the war that this is our patriotic war, this is our Sardarab. But in reality, political nation, Armenian political nation over the world, with the 10 million, didn't treat in reality this is as a patriotic war or Sardarab. Maybe part of this, but not the 10 million. And this is one of the points over which I've been repeating permanently, starting from all my, let's say, position to be public on the political speech. That, guys, we as a society, we as a nation need to perfectly understand our war is not ever finished. Starting from 1994, our war is continuing. It's just having a, let's say, different points. Sometimes it's at the negotiation table. Sometimes it's on the front line. Sometimes it's in the international community. Sometimes in economy. But the war is continuing, and we need to live on this. Our decision need to be based as our war is not finished, and the military actions will be there. More than 3 years, I've been saying that Azerbaijan took the political decision not in June. Azerbaijan took political decision at that time. I've been using even Kazan point, like 2011. That from now on we are not paying attention to negotiation. It's just utilizing time, but we're going with the political part because whatever is has been on the in Kazan in the paper wasn't being really able to say that Azerbaijan should reject it, but they reject it. But I would say that they even took a decision back in 1994 when the political decision in Azerbaijan as a national decision has been taken that they would go and use the military means to recover whatever they consider their part of loss. And the process of negotiation has been manipulated. Unfortunately, with speaking, I've even some, if someone would follow, they would find that interviews when I'm saying this. Guys, let me go with the very primitive explanation. Like in Azerbaijan, there is a one paper over which there is which moment I'm attacking Armenia. And one point, like, my military is stronger than Armenia. They're marking some percent. My political position is much better. I don't know. My economy is much better or something like that. And when there is an inner calculation of all that mark, for example, they crossing some line, they consider this is the day. But in this whole list, there's also one very important point. Armenian national unity.
Well, let's, Tevan.
This is what is very important that, okay, on the militaries, we never been champions than them. On the economy, never been much stronger than them. But there was some point over which some issues on their mark has been always like a stopping point. If we will lose this, it would be the number one signal for them to start the action. And unfortunately, this is the point over which never plan scenarios. We never try to think in a system thinking. We never try utilizing these scenario planning approaches. I don't know, all other cases to understand where is our red lines over which we don't have right to cross, because after that it's the security of the national state. And this national state should be really treated as national, like Armenian Republic or Armenia, when we think, is a national element of this. You can value thousands of various approaches, democracy, liberal economy, or something like this, but something should be there unique over which you name it Armenian Republic. And this Armenian is the nation state. We need to, I think the problem of our identity that starting from 91, we pick up that number one identity should be prosperity instead of nation, Armenian.
Tevan, can you speak up a little bit, please, because your voice is fading away. Did you say did you say that number one priority should be prosperity? Is that you saying it or others?
No. It has been the wrong approach to go with this identity.
Okay.
Starting from 91, our number one should be a national state building is number one priority. Armenian is not the prosperity. We have been, if we would be ready for go that it's not just simply my life prosperity, then we need to build back national state, and national state is my number one try. Then I think we would have a different approaches on this.
Let me let me narrow it down a bit. For me, for our audience, I want to take you to Artsakh for a minute.
Okay.
David Babayan, the foreign minister, said a day or two ago that there's mainly two political issues when you talk about Artsakh, and that's the status of Artsakh and its boundaries. You have been vocal about that while the international community, starting from Mr. Putin in Russia, who said, look, you guys should have recognized Artsakh. And here now after the war,
Garo, I think I lost your connection.
Tevan, I think that maybe it's his connection. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I'm hearing you, and I think maybe I get the point.
If I'm an Artsakh resident and I want to have my family remain there, I want to finish my thought, and I want you to then take it away. There are elections on the horizon. Mm-hmm. What are the parties talking about? I'm kind of getting tired of talking about economic, welfare is a priority. We start the railroad tracks, we do this, we do that. Who among the political parties that are going to now want to bring us a better Armenia, a safer Artsakh, who, if anyone, is talking about the Artsakh issue, considering the recent polls put Artsakh not at the top of some of the people that were polled? I would like your thoughts on all those.
In reality, I think, yes, we are now entering in the period where very soon, literally in 1 week, maybe this will be the latest week when political parties would be still much more, or political entities who are going to participate in election would be still forming their kind of an entity approach. Like, are they going alone, or they building a coalitions, or they are three, or they are. But after that, I think definitely the pre-election campaign would start, and really, unfortunately, I consider that today's ruling government or some today's forces would be trying to keep our Armenian nation much more, as you said, in this prosperity issues, welfare or something, and never touch Artsakh. But again, the same way as like in 2019, security is #1 issue. Doesn't mean that if Russian soldiers standing there, my security is resolved. And what is going on now in Israel is just one of the elements. And when we have been many times saying that, guys, don't think that Turkey would not come to the region, don't treat like this because, I don't know, someone considered that, oh, you know, that Turkey has changed, it's NATO country, blah, blah, blah. Like, see what they're doing in Syria. And Turkey just proved whatever they done in Syria, they also done in Afghanistan. And I think on that regard, we need to really start to think that what these guys are promising, #1 issue should be this. This is my point, that our prioritization of issues should start from the following. Guys, my #1 identity is my national status, my Armenian. Show me how I'll remain Armenian. Because if I need to remain prosperous person, I would leave Armenia, go to Germany or Russia or United States or something. Definitely, I will make much more money there. Not here. Why am I remaining in Armenia? Why are you promising future in Armenia? Because something should be there on my national part. So like on ethnical identity is there. We speak Armenian, we know alphabet, some photos or something like this. Our last name, Sian, shows something. But where is my stateless identity? What is this? Am I for the national state? Am I for the politicization of that Armenians is very important and Armenia should be there as a national point? And based on this, if someone is starting to talk, he needs to speak starting from the first Artsakh issue. And definitely Artsakh issue is the stateless identity. Starting from 1988, really the movements which is start to talk about national, why we're saying it's national liberation movement, because it's give the reverse of the national feelings that it's our territories, someone has cut it and give it to someone else and something else. That element should be, again, with Artsakh issue, and it should be there on the real step. Yes, if you not be speaking about recognition of Artsakh, definitely not only Putin would be throwing to our face. The whole international community would be throwing to our face this issue. Now there are some discussion, you know, we need to wait until like France would recognize, or I don't know, US would recognize. I think, sorry, there are strong involvement of the diaspora Armenians who already bring about 9 or 10 US states recognition. There's Australian one state who recognized that. Now it's your turn. Recognize it and make a challenge to the Minsk group co-chair that this is new reality. What Azerbaijan done? They've been always saying that, you know, its status quo is not acceptable, blah, 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 until one day they just went to change the real status quo on the ground and now throwing to the face of Minsk co-chairs. There's no Artsakh issue anymore. There's no such status issue. There's no Artsakh Republic. There's no something. This is what is Aliyev saying. Now, how I will be bringing to the table point over which said that, no, we need to sit down at the table and negotiate some issue. What kind of an issue? That's why it should be, in my view, one of the first things which should really Artsakh Republic take, and nationalism of the Artsakh Republic need urgently accept occupation law on Azerbaijani occupation of their Artsakh Republic, with the all legal consequences of the way how they treating the ownership of the houses, how the land issues is resolved, how the monument issues, how the status issues is of all this unlawful construction that they starting, destroyment of everything, that should be in that law. Based on this law, Armenian National Assembly immediately need to start the process of recognition and saying, in other way, what we would have, as one today's representative of the government said that after their village is Azerbaijan. Sorry, go and ask the Aghavno resident. Is it Azerbaijan? We're saying that Armenia is a guarantor of Artsakh Republic. Because if you are a guarantor of Artsakh Republic, you need to recognize territorial administration division of Artsakh Republic also. Then just open up that law. Maybe after the Ter village is Artsakh Republic. Why are you saying where this kind of a thinking is started? And we're forgetting whatever legally we have. And I believe that, for example, as of this moment, we have only still the bloc of Kocharian who use the cliche or terminological word. They said that arjanapativ խաղաղություն, like this, how to translate? Yeah, something like that. As a cliche part, what would be in the details of this? No one is really open. The Karabakh Authority is saying that we need to negotiate and recover at least something which has been with the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Republic. But sorry, Nagorno-Karabakh Republic is really legally based status which has been accepted on Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous /Shaumian region. Who allowed anyone not to talk about Shaumian region anymore? Why we only mentioning Shushi and Hadrut? How about Matagis and Kalish? How about Shaumian? Second, I'm opening the all legal papers. Kashatak region is there. Arvacha region is there. Jarakan region is there. Who allowed, as a politician who has what and now he is in office, not to talk about this? Then the change or start to new election, go with the election process. And I hope that with the next week, as everything would start, we would start more and more hear from the political entities on their approach. And that would be also a very important issue on the discussion. I perfectly understand that the rulings already came like already in the National Assembly. One of the deputies started to say that let's not talk about Artsakh so emotionally, blah, 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 where it has much more very important issues and so on. But this should be the demand of Armenian. Guys, present me what you will be doing. If not, 5 years is not the long term. The half or year already passed. 4.5 years, we remain how we would be approaching to the point when I do believe our enemies as Azerbaijan and Turkey would start to raise the issue in front of the Russia that why you're peacekeepers here. I perfectly understand that Russia could find the way maybe, or in 5 years the world could change that Russia could find even solution for another 100 years to remain there. And maybe we need this, but let's discuss in truth. Because I do believe that our grandpa's decision back in 1921 on the joining Soviet or Sovietization process, and with the Stalin decision of cutting Karabakh and moving to Azerbaijan, it hasn't been their dream decision. But in this case, we need to treat this point over that for 70 years, till 91, we have been training, getting power, becoming stronger, developing a nation state institution. And in 91, when the chance was there, we utilized our independence and we went and kind of increase our homeland to Artsakh real republic borders and Armenian republic borders. Let's have that dream. Now, in a 5 years' time, what I will do if I'm not still ready to take much stronger position and turn the status quo on the ground really in my favor, then we need to find out how to prolong that situation, how to go with this and get to the point when we would be really stronger to recover all that part. Because that territories of Artsakh Republic is not simply has been just the territories of, like, let's say, for nothing. It has been a food security. Guys, if we're dreaming to having in 2050 Armenia with 5 million people living, we need to feed out that 5 million people. How you will feed if you don't have your wheat? Where I can have a wheat, if not land, not with me. If I need to provide an economy possibility for 5 million people, I need these possibilities on the territory. You can't turn the whole nation in IT experts and saying that, okay, I'm sitting with this like my one working table, it's enough space for me to do my business and create economy. No, the food security issues, national security issues are also developing. Sometimes you need to be really proving your viability over the existence. And if we have that dream, we need to put these national dreams in front of us and start to step by step going. And I've been always saying that from the political side, anytime you're having your 5 years or 10 years, or I don't know, so many years, but we need to have one common dream over which various different political parties could come with their approaches, get the votes, having their turn, but pass to the next one, much better situation. Now,
are you talking? I'm sorry, Tevan. Are you talking about successive administrations that come into office? For example, you had made a statement about this current government inherited a larger Armenia, and is now at a place where they have a smaller Armenia. But you know, this kind of makes me think May 28th is around the corner. They missed an opportunity on May 9th, May 8th, May 9th, Shushi Liberation Anniversary. Why not recognize Artsakh on the anniversary of the First Republic of May 28, 1918? Recognize it, because they always talked about if we recognize there'll be a war, but there's not going to be a war. There already was a war.
Okay, you can do that recognition every day. Sometimes you're looking for symbolism. May 9 could be a symbolism of something. May 28 could be a symbolism of something, but you can do even tomorrow.
Right.
If you have this point of the dream. And based on that, yes, the most important point that we missed 44 days of recognition of Artsakh Republic during the war. And that war already was there.
Yeah, and that was absolutely.
If it's our patriotic war, if you really treat this as a patriotic war, do it now. Do it now. Why you just come up with this? That it was my political mistake. I didn't recognize. Sorry, I'm doing it now. Now, if there would be again military action, we would take it. It's patriotic war. Patriotic war over which I know it's really major two wars over which we have been studying in the history. One with Napoleon and Hart, and he even captured Moscow for the Russian logic. And the second one is the World War II, which we have been calling patriotic war. There was only 40 kilometers from Moscow, yes, when the Germans reached to the point. Why we didn't fight till Yerevan this time? If it's patriotic war, we need to fight till Yerevan. Who said that we will not be in a position to really exhaust our enemies and go ahead? The situation could be changed. Why we stop on some ununderstandable point? Was that everyone has been killed? For the World War II, Armenians participate about 600,000, and 300,000 has passed away. At that time, we have only 5,000 who passed away on that regard. That's why if it's patriotic, why you are not taking that feelings of the patriotic? But in reality, yes, this should be the point over which how we changing the game. Okay, you have Russian militaries on your border, something security is proved in some situation, but create a new situation. Create a new situation when people in the world would be facing this new reality. Shows that you can put the task of century and go for this. Then the nation has a living desire for that century. As you said, this election shouldn't be just simply for next 5 years. We need to put a task for century. If this is not the task for century, that parliament would go only for 2 years, because the election now is one of the biggest mistakes. With the crisis situation, we will turn into just the crisis system, when each 2 years or each 1.5 years, we will go with the election to change the government or something like this. And instead of thinking about that part, my proposal was always, guys, parliamentary difference between parliamentary and presidential is that resign, take your political responsibility, go. Let's, as a nation, we recently violated so many times this constitution that one for the national purpose violation wouldn't be point. But let's think out of these 10 millions, find 18 or 20 great crisis managers in social field, in health field, in economy field, in education field. I don't know, it could be from Yerevan, central of Yerevan, or it could be someone from Glendale, or it could be someone from Austria, or it could be someone from the Russian, I don't know, Siberia. But find these best managers, get them here, ask them like for the 365 days to work as kamikaze, or I don't know, 1.5 years, or 7 months, doesn't matter. But give them the task instead of you doing everything as in the military time without like parliament or other structures. You managing the crisis. Parallel to this, all the political parties, let they run their pre-election time, that they have this century task in front of them. Let's not only, now can you imagine it will be only 12-day pre-election campaign. 12 days, they would be just only using compromise against each other, compromise against each other, and they'll be talking in a negative point. What kind of an election? What kind of a program I would be seeing to critically judge, consider that this team could be doing this better, this one I would trust more than the other one. And in this IT world, with the society who don't have any resilience towards the manipulative fake news and everything, I don't know what kind of a minds we would be having on the day of election. Yes, again, we would go into the personalities, and we would repeat again the same stupid mistakes, because finally we are not really ready to have this political consensus building culture. And that I've proposed back in 2018, June 1st time, that it's time to start developing political consensus building, negotiation table, negotiation room, when from time to time national issues could come, sit down, decide the red lines, and go and start to do it, over which we would be having these points on putting centuries visions and centuries dreams. Without that, I don't know how to change this identity from prosperity to national state parts. And this is, I think, what over which now our enemies would be also dreaming. Let's Armenians would fight with each other. Let's Armenians would do. In a few years, we would kind of having a much open Armenia. We would go there with the money. We would take our managers. We would start to utilize with them this part. And as in a Soviet time, we would really make the Armenians live Armenian. And finally, we will get. And I think the points over which Alev is saying we would go for Zangezur, for Sevan and Yerevan, this is their century task.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Tevan, you've highlighted a number of really key issues, and I think that there's a refreshing sense to the idea of changing the tables with a diplomatic move, where the military moves were not successful, to be able to change the status, to change the situation on the ground in Artsakh. And by doing so, also galvanize, create the idea of, you said basically the national dream, the national patriotic approach. I'm not hearing so much of that in the political discussions of the day, unfortunately. Like you said, what we're hearing is really looking back and pointing fingers as opposed to looking forward and gathering national society or national consciousness around a particular concept of national unity. I wanted to ask, because that is a point that's very interesting, and I think that it's one that was, at least in our circles, very predominant at the time, to say, why is recognition not happening on day 1, on day 5, on day... And I remember statements from legislatures coming out of the National Assembly saying things like, well, we can always recognize we can do that when it's time, or if we need to, we will. And that begs the question, and it almost feels in many respects, Tevan, that the handling of the war and the post-war period almost seems like the government has skipped over the value of national identity, nation building, and is now trying to enjoy the fruits of economic development, which all of these things are important. They're also important from a security standpoint. However, it seems like we are just skipping over the fact that this war happened. We're skipping over the opportunities that were lost. We're skipping over, I mean, let's not forget also that, politically speaking or diplomatically speaking, places like Karvajar, Kashatagh, and these parts were not part of Armenia. They were part of the Artsakh Republic, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And what shocks me is how quickly that national identity, that element of Armenian reality, disappeared on November 11th. Nobody was making statements saying that, well, Armenia doesn't have the right to cede territory that it doesn't have, right? I mean, it can give effective control, it can remove its military, but it doesn't have the right to cede territory that it never even annexed. Mm-hmm. So, there are certain arguments, I think, that when, it's refreshing to hear this, because I feel that over the last 6 months, this discourse has disappeared. And with it, the idea of national consciousness and national identity building. And perhaps we hope that this election will have at least some fragrance of this revived, if we talk about revival, of this revived concept. And I want to ask you, because many people who watch this program and will hear what you said are going to say, and some may argue that, okay, what does that mean for security? If a statement like that was made, or if diplomatic overtures like that were made, do we, in a post-conflict situation, do we risk, and it's funny, I say it, and as I'm saying it, I remember the time when people said, well, if we recognize, they will attack. We didn't recognize, they still attacked. Mm-hmm. And there's a new geostrategic reality with the Russian forces on the ground in Artsakh and in Armenia. What do you say to those that say, you know what, it's too much of a risk, we've endured too much in this war? What do you say to those who say that making a move like that, a diplomatic move like that, will cause conflict to reemerge, will cause the proper lands in the Sunnic region to be attacked? What is your response to that, Tevan?
The response is following. War is not finished. November 9-10 is just a ceasefire. It's not the international agreement. And when Ali is saying that I will come for Zangezur, he is not joking. Doesn't matter even if tomorrow you will sign a diplomatic relationship. they would find the way how to come and take it. Because this is continuation of the same policy of building up the biggest Turan or Turkish one. As Turkey stopped recognize Syria, Iraq, Libya, Azerbaijan, or something like this. This is my point. That what is my national duty? When previously we have been saying that maybe it's not the time to recognize and blah blah blah. I've been always remembering, guys, why you are not honestly presenting everything. And you can find many interviews when I've been saying that Armenia recognized Artsakh. We have so many interstate agreements. When you're having an interstate agreement, mean you recognize someone. And we have an integrational policies with this. Like the same problem that Armenia has been understanding, that human rights is human rights. And if Artsakh resident has the same rights as any citizen in the world or any another inhabitant in the world for the movement, how they can meet the movement? Okay, let's have them the passport, or which they would be able to move. That passport on the territory of Artsakh is kind of a passport which is recognizing that I'm resident of Artsakh Republic with my citizenship. But out of the Artsakh Republic, that passport is not the citizenship passport of Republic of Armenia. The city is just a travel document. Everyone knows. That's why the people never been able to come and vote here, never choose the election. Like the same with many, many other issues, because international community hasn't been part. But in reality, Armenia never officially recognized because of the request of international community. They said that, guys, if you will recognize Artsakh Republic, then why, how we would be having this negotiation? The main issue of negotiation has been always the status of Artsakh. And if one side is already recognizing what they did dealing in the negotiation with, but because leaving Artsakh and Azerbaijan hasn't been really honest, and Armenian Republic has been always there as a security guarantee or something like that, as a recognized voice to talk about it. Now, if many times this has been said to the same way as international, and not only by Tevan Poghosyan, who is maybe oppositional member of the parliament, who is, I don't know, expert, who is not, but by the high level guys, maybe the feelings has been also different. We all perfectly know that, for example, Armenia is providing non-percent the debt to Artsakh Republic on the budget. If you're not recognizing that entity, to whom you're giving your money? To whom I don't pay this credit? Which meaning that recognition was there, but on the euro level, we never done because of the request of international community. Now, if the international community didn't raise these issues, and now even throwing at my face, and we perfectly already see what has been the war, and we have been saying that it's my patriotic war. Now, is it my patriotic war? If it's my patriotic war, recognizing and take, give to international community the same feeling that this is my national dream and I will be going for this even for centuries. Or if Russian soldiers there, Azerbaijan is not also, why are we considering that Azerbaijan economy is so strong that they will start tomorrow the war? They also lost many, many soldiers. We also destroyed the half of their army. Who said that tomorrow they can initiate? Just because Aliyev making like this move doesn't mean that he would hasn't really ability to start this military activity. And after this, make a preparation for that. Make one day strong international PR, recognize it. Recognition is always an instrument. Let me just finish on this part because I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
if previously I've been always saying that recognition is like you preparing a hammer, and then you need to use this hammer to hit the target and nail it to the exact point, then you would be better. If previously I haven't been doing this because of the request of international community, because of this war could start, and because maybe something like this, I didn't start to prepare this hammer, because in reality, if you don't have a really strong diplomatic possibilities, this hammer could be very heavy, and instead of being able to nail it, I can hit my leg. But if it's small hammer, which is prepared with, and the nail is big, I can be, I don't know, use hours and hours and hours and not even move that nail to the target. Now it should be with the proper size of my ability and calculation. Now, today's situation, I don't have that ability. My military is not there. My security is totally in a different structures. My economy is not there. And what I need to give me as a sense to live for the future and work. That's why the point that when we're saying the recognition, maybe for the long time we will be alone. Maybe Azerbaijan would the same way use this finger. He is doing it anyway. Mm-hmm. And he is promising that he would come to Yerevan. Yeah. He's continuing the genocidal policy of Turkey of 1915. We would need to destroy the whole part. And when Ali is saying that all Armenians, the same as both of you have sitting in over the ocean, his enemies. He wished to destroy it. Okay, then what else I have to start to give the new sense for life for Armenians to join as one unification dream of our national statehood, of our nationalities, of our nation as a political entity in the world. Not just simply saying we are a great nation and blah, blah, blah. But nation which is having this is the point really, that even if tomorrow Azerbaijan would be aggressive, I need to take this aggression. Because without that, I will be just in the point of the disappearing.
And Tevan, I guess I want to follow up with that real quickly, if I may. And that is, why is it, in your opinion, that the government, we understand during the war, let's say, there was an opportunity to recognize and they refused to do that. In the aftermath, there was still an opportunity to recognize and they have failed to do that. What is it that's stopping them from doing that? Is it merely do they? I mean, it's hard for us to understand the other than the fact of threat of military force, which is already there, which is there regardless. I guess my question is, in your opinion, what is it that's holding them back from doing that? Do they not see the value of what it could play in the role of national identity? Do they think the risks are too high? Is there outside influence that is, be it, Russian security structure or other? What is the basis for, or the bases for them not taking an action like that?
Their own mistakes and being a loser. There are mistakes that now, if they would do now, they need to prove why they didn't done previously. That like explanation of my mistakes and blah, blah, blah. And they are not able to speak openly with me, because then you need to have a political responsibility. Shows your real mind. Guys, we didn't went for the national unity because not security of the nation has been in our fraud, not we have a system thinking, not we have a properly planned scenarios, but that has been, I don't know, my personal offense, or I don't know, something like this and blah, blah, blah. No government like to explain the real honest way of their policies. And feeling of their being losers, because now they need to accept it, that part. And imagine, which I don't know, on the moment of the stopping 9 November 9, what kind of an oral agreement on this case, and we soon. Because every day we're starting to open up from, I don't know, Lavrov interview in Baku, from something like, start to learn that this government agreed on something over which they never openly inform us. There's a famous proverb in Karabakh. There's a one guy who has been always beaten in the street and blah, blah, blah. And many people saying that why you are not being able to spend for you and something like this. And his grandfather would be saying that, listen, there is nothing to ask from the beaten or loser guy. This is his behavior. Now, this government behavior, but there is nothing to ask for them. You need to have a vision on the way to how you would be going. Now, see, like, they give up. Let's Russian do the security. Let's, I don't know, American diaspora get or push for the genocide recognition. There would be 1 month. For the whole 1 month, they said that, yes, it's not our government position. But yesterday or on May 10, he has been trying to say that it has been their government policy that some countries recognize genocide. I imagine, like, what kind of a seriousness you need to take from this part. That's why he could present me thousands of calculations. Putin didn't want, I don't know, Biden said, wait a bit. Macron said that maybe next year, or is it really should matter for me? My nation is living today. What is my view for my nation today? All others are interested with their interest. Where is my Armenian interest to present? This is the point that, okay, I perfectly understand that we cannot go with the clashes with many interests. But at least in the whole system of the matrix of interest in the world, we always need to say that where is the main pillar, Armenian interest, and how I'm going to really live with this, how I'm going to really plan it. And Armenian interest should be number one. And even someone is asking me not to today, but this is very important for me, what I would do. We'll do this. And well, this is just a matter of approach of saying, do we really think about our grandkids? Do I really dream that Armenia would be after 100 years? And what kind of Armenia I would wish? Or I'm just living with the next maximum 5 years, and after me, whatever would happen is happen.
Mm-hmm. Tevan, we went over the hour that we promised we would only keep you no longer than that, but I am going to ask you one final question, if you can address it. Russia, United States, France, 3 countries, 3 Communist group chairs. All 3 have now recognized the Armenian genocide. And I say that because I agree with you that there's many a person, perhaps in current and other circles of government and elsewhere, who thinks, yeah, diaspora busy with genocide issue, diaspora too engaged with Artsakh, but there are day-to-day needs in Armenia that are more pressing than Artsakh. Well, I beg to differ, and perhaps, despite the fact that this government, who was at the helm of our country, our homeland, and no matter how anybody wants to characterize it, is the government in place when we lost the war and lost territories, can right its wrongs or shortcomings and do something proactive rather than reactive. Your thoughts on the heels of genocide recognition by President Biden of the US, forming the triumvirate of these Communist chairs, which really goes into human rights issue. Genocide recognition is a human rights recognition, press the issue as to Artsakh before June 20th elections. Maybe, you know, the government in place thinks that, you know, there's an overwhelming support for the government, but, you know, whoever I talk to, regardless of what side they are, they all think they got a great deal of support in Armenia, and they're going to be running Armenia come June 21st. I don't care who runs Armenia as long as they don't run Armenia to the ground. Your final thoughts about what can be done, if anything, by anyone, not just the government, even perhaps the forces and the alliances that are forming that want to come into government. I don't see why anybody needs to wait. They should start talking and making some constructive statements and moves. Your thoughts on that, and we'll wrap up with that and come back to you, Karnig.
Garo, you are really right. To the point that you guys start to talk now, start to form them, start to promise them. Every day speak about this part. Our discourse should really change to this. That's why every day I'm saying or repeating the same point. Guys, if the whole discourse wouldn't be about future, I'm not going to pay attention to this any political entity anyway. Any time, whenever you use the previous guys, the previous times, I leave that. I feel everything skin by my, feel on my skin everything. I know sometimes even more than you could present to me. That's why I forget about it. Talk about future and talk it in a real terms. Talk it that you would put the big task and we would go with the hard times for the generation. I'm ready to be the part of generation for whom prosperity wouldn't be a real. I'm not saying that to live in a furnace, but let's perfectly know that we're investing in future. Let's invest in future for 1 or 2 generations, and then we will get there. Japan after nuclear attack. I don't know, Israel after 4 times. Some the same Europe examples. Europe is also not immediately become prosperous in 1946. They
yes.
Put there with the one generation. The Soviet Union, my father's generation in their kids' time hasn't been the prosperity, but they cultivate the generations over which we came in Soviet time and then had been ready to pick up Armenia and Republic as an independent state. Guys, let's give me the honest answer that for the next 1, 2 generations, we'll go with this argument, but with this big, long Armenian dreams. And this would be the way how we will be moving. And speak about future next day. What kind of a law you would be changing if you wish to talk about law change, or what kind of a steps and discourse should be. Any words about past, you out of my screen. You will not be anymore in front of me to discuss with you, because I already made out of this. And any discussion of personalities, forget it. Talk about the system. Talk about the collective understanding. Talk about collective interest. Talk about the national point. Without this change of discourse in their minds and understanding, we would be getting. I perfectly understand the half of nation would be still on the personal way to choosing. I like this person or that person. But in any way, we need to start it. If we will not start now, we'll using time for next, using again time till the next period. We need to change it. And there is this part, possibility. Unification on that agendas in the future, it should be, and everyone should come. And I perfectly understand that I'm been also the one who is demanding for this. By saying every day, guys, I demand this point. Don't give me this, whatever. I perfectly live in 91, 92, 93, 94, blah, 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 till today. I perfectly know what has been there. If not, the internet would allow me to learn if I need to go with that. But let's speak about the future. If that would be really the discourse, I believe that we can really start working on the change. If not, unfortunately, the crisis after the crisis will continue until, who knows, would our so-called Armenian destiny prevail, or we would start to be the master of our destiny.
Well, Tevan, I think your point is extremely well taken, because I think we are very good, unfortunately, given our history of transferring intergenerational trauma. But when it comes to transferring national consciousness and identity, or dreams, as you put it, we should realize that takes a lot of work today. Usually those types of dreams don't start at the top of the mountain, they start at the bottom of the hill. And if we're at the bottom of the hill, we need to start charting that path up the hill right now. That's the work of our generation, whether we like it or not, whether we wanted to sit pretty at the top of the hill, we're not there. We're at the bottom of the hill today. And this is when national dreams and national consciousness is made. There's no question about that. And I think that your point, some of the statements, I have to say, it's refreshing to me, because we have been doing these programs since the day the war began, September 27th. And until now, there was a large crescendo until November 10th. And then all of a sudden, it was almost as if, like you said, the discourse completely changed. The discourse completely changed, and we don't want to create a situation where we're comfortable with that. We have to be in an uncomfortable situation if we're going to make some change and move towards that national consciousness and identity and build what needs to be built. So I want to thank you for joining us. I think you made a number of comments today that are extremely bold, that are extremely motivating, and really as a source of a future. I don't want to even use future as an adjective, future something, of a future itself. And I think that's really valuable. And I thank you very much, Tevan. And I will be passing it on to Garo for your last thoughts.
Well, my last thoughts are really a reflection of what Tevan just said a few moments ago in his final remarks. He talked about generations. And when we talk about generations, and so much has been stuck into the past regime, past government, past this, people forget to look forward, and people stop and don't do anything today to change the situation today for a better tomorrow. I am reminded, the last 48 hours, I've been reminded over and over again about the former generation, the ones that we are burying every day these days. My uncle passed away yesterday, my aunt's husband. Antranik Keshishian was his name. And a beautiful tribute was given by one of his 4 daughters, my cousin Ani, who said, my father, created a life for all of us around us. Our generation today, our government today, whoever it may be sitting in office, has an obligation to create a life for the people in the Republic. And I mean the Republic of Artsakh and the Republic of Armenia. I don't just mean Armenia. And there was a song that my late uncle Antranik really liked, and coincidentally or otherwise, it was Antranik Pashain Yerka. And the words of that song, I kept looking at it because my cousin had put it up there. It said, Andar per miyegir hay azgi hamar, vergats kerezmanits Antranik Pasha. Shirchir haygagan zorkeri arach, vergats kerezmanits Antranik Pasha. Madar linem kez, kerunu sampadin, vor misht bashpanein haygagan tadin. Pergarar pazuget sharjir verstin, vergats kerezmanits Antranik Pasha. Chem Garo hashtavel ein vajri hed, vor ailots bidi menan mush numurad ked. Hayeri zoravar kach sparabed, vergats kerezmanits Antranik Pasha. Lesir hayrik երկչի աղերսապանը, հարությունար, բադրիր քո սուրբ թամփանը, քեզ է սպասում հին Հայաստանը, վերգաց գերեզմանից Անտրանիկ Փաշա։ Ես կփապակեմ, որ վերգենան այս ողջ գերեզմաններեն շատերը այսօր, որոնք ունին այդ ղեկը իրենց ծերին, գարավարական ղեկերը, անելու այնինչ որ պետք է անեին, հիմա էլ գրնաննել եւ պետք է որ անեն։ And let me just finish in English. We can't just sit and reconcile about the loss of Shushi, Hadrut, and as Tevan mentioned, Kashatagh, Madaghi, Stalish, and more. We can't. We cannot reconcile that. Our fathers and forefathers didn't, and they gave us an independent Armenia. They gave us Gharapaghi, Sharjuma, and an independent Artsakh. Imagine what would have happened if they just reconciled. We need to get to work. Korzi լծվինք, Հայաստանում էլ, Արցախում արդեն korzi լծված են, շարունակվի այդ korzi աշխատանքը եւ լծակը եւ սպյուրքի մեջ։ More importantly, բոլորը միասնապար, ոչ իրար հագարակ։ Tevan, շնորհակալ եմ, վարձկտ կդար դարիներու քո աշխատանքին կհանդիպինք Երևանում։ Շնորհակալ եմ։
Thank you, Garo. See you here and in Artsakh.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.